Here on Baywatching, we like to have a lot of fun at David Hasselhoff's expense, but in case it wasn't obvious, I think he's awesome. He's brought us so many years of entertainment, and despite the jokes, I can't deny he's extremely talented and has enjoyed an enormously successful career. But maybe this series hasn't always given that impression, because Baywatch is a show that really succeeded despite the critics, and probably because of reasons other than Hasselhoff's handsome looks. But if this has been your only view of David Hasselhoff's body of work, you might not have been aware of just how huge he was before Baywatch. I'm talking primetime beefcake Knight Rider Hoff. In fact, until very recently, I had no idea the true scope of his fame. But that all changed when I found a concert tape from 1987 titled Das erste große Video über David Hasselhoff and the Night Rockers and Kit. I'm sure my German pronunciation was impeccable. Get ready to have your minds blown, people. This is possibly the greatest concert video ever made. It taught me a lot about Hasselhoff, the world, and myself. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that this concert sent the Hoff on a path to inspire and unite an entire country. Let's go on a journey. So a little backstory here. It's 1984. Knight Rider has found legitimate success on NBC and made David Hasselhoff a true TV star. We're talking lunchbox status. His fame didn't just include the US, Michael Knight fever extended across borders, making him an international superstar. But Hasselhoff is a man of many talents who didn't want to be pinned into one box. He wasn't just some handsome hunk who could drive a car, he was also a singer. Thus he developed his first album, simply titled Night Rocker, featuring one of the greatest covers of all time. Hasselhoff, in leather, playing guitar in the rain on top of a car. He is ready to rock your world. Eventually released in January of 1985, the record was shamelessly plugged during an entire episode of Knight Rider called Let It Be Me, wherein he went undercover as a rock star to sing duets with his real-life fiancée Catherine Hickland, who he eventually married in the show in a recreation of their actual wedding the next year. If you have had any sort of interest in Hasselhoff's vanity, Let It Be Me is required watching. The episode is hilarious and makes no sense at all considering his girlfriend is supposed to be in witness protection at the time. And yes, 3 duets with now ex-wife Catherine Hickland are on the album, so it's aged very well. Now you might have noticed that the Hoff was sorta kinda extremely leaning into his Michael Knight persona to sell this album, what with the in-show promotion, the cover with the same kind of car, and the suspiciously similar name. I say this because it might be one of the reasons he was not taken seriously as an artist at the time, but that's pure speculation on my part. Regardless, David Hasselhoff really thought this was gonna launch his singing career, and it crashed harder than Kit nosediving into the dirt. As Hasselhoff joked, it sold about 7 copies. And for a while, it seemed like the end of that phase of his career. But as David Hasselhoff has proved time and again, sometimes a seeming failure can be used to make lemonade. 2 years after the album flopped, Knight Rider had ended, and he was finding it hard to break away from his TV persona and land new gigs. That's when fate stepped in and gave him a sign. He got a visit from a young fan who revealed to him some shocking news. You know that album you made that everyone hated 2 years ago? Well, guess what? Night Rocker is a hit in my country, Austria.
I said, oh, that's so cool. Where's Austria?
The Hoff knew an opportunity when he saw it. No more talking car typecasting for him, he was going to become a European singing sensation. After looking up where the hell Austria is, he called his dad and said he needed 2 Knight Rider cars so he could tour with them, as you do.
Hey Dad, get me some Knight Riders, I need them to sing.
Hoff Dad did just that, they shipped them to Austria, and David Hasselhoff and the Night Rockers was born. What follows is the most raw and real look at Hasselhoff's life at this point in time, a funhouse mirror into his ego, the peak of Hasselmania, the very definition of hubris. Never have I seen anyone so full of themselves and yet understood exactly why fame does what it does. But I want to preface things with this. From the fires of arrogance sprung new hope. This is not important because of the reasons Hasselhoff thought it was, but I can say with certainty it needed to happen.
Let's go! Ladies and gentlemen, David Hasselhoff!
Okay, so the first thing you need to know about this concert video is that it's actually just a love letter to David Hasselhoff disguised as a concert video. While it features a lot of his beautiful singing voice, most of it is just about how awesome he is. And that's fine for me, because after an opening where he's sleeping next to his parrot and puppies in a bed positively exploding with stuffed animals, and then he gets woken up by a robot to go on his European tour, I already think the music is a secondary feature.
Good morning, David. Time to get up.
His best friend and music director, Marcus, is sleeping under a pile of clothes in his room, I guess.
Especially his best friend and musical director, Marcus.
I mean, they really pulled out all the stops here, because while it would be easy to simply film the concert, we are treated to several segments of the Hoff's vacation videos throughout. See David and his fans, see him working out, wearing a wig and dancing, and chasing birds. But this isn't just an opportunity to be silly, they would also like to educate the viewers with some Austrian fun facts. Like, for instance, were you aware the Hoff didn't know Austria was real?
All I knew of Austria growing up was a film called The Sound of Music. I thought it was a Hollywood movie set, but I found out that it was reality.
Someplace David Hasselhoff never visited during this entire tour. Anyway, we're not here to find out about Austria, we're here to find out about the Hoff. 4 minutes in, and we're regaled with the entire Hasselhoff story, although it's worth noting that they take some liberties with the truth, such as saying he was the main character on The Young and the Restless.
His big chance came in the television series The Young and the Restless, playing the main lead. David Hasselhoff played the leading role.
While he did have a good 850 episode run after replacing the original actor, calling Snapper Foster the main character of Young and the Restless is like saying Ross is the main character of Friends. The Hoff's true launch into the spotlight was, of course, when he was cast as the Knight Rider in 1982. He became so popular, he was getting calls and fan mail from all over the world, including unknown districts in Africa.
And even from unknown districts in Africa.
And now that he was in Austria, he was finally being taken seriously as an artist. People loved his music, and they loved him. Now, some people might let that kind of fame go to their head, but not David Hasselhoff. Truly, his rags to riches story was a humbling experience, as seen in all of the many clips of him signing pictures of his face and being fawned over by fans. I think the clearest window we get into the Hoff's world at the time is when we see him in his ridiculous house covered in animal skins, and he shows off a kit bumper embedded underneath his 80s big screen TV. He has a glass patio out back that seems to be there only for people to view a single photo of him and his wife in a pool together. And why shouldn't he have all of these things? He's the Knight Rider. He saves people on a weekly basis.
David calls it the house that Kit built.
Either this is the most unself-aware video of all time or the most brilliant satire ever written. This next quote is an all-timer.
The biggest problem in my life is I feel incredibly guilty that I'm driving a nice little black Porsche and got a gorgeous wife and an incredible house, and I see somebody walking across the road who will never have that. That's something that'll always be with me.
Cut immediately to him in a space jacket serenading Minnie Mouse at Disneyland, and there's dancing hippos and Captain Hook and a breakdancing country bear. I've never seen anything more surreal and wonderful in my life. What in the world is happening? I've entered a wormhole and come out in the Hasselhoff dimension. It was never meant to be understood by mere mortals. I'm watching this David Hasselhoff in the Night Rockers concert video, and he's got this awesome jacket and breakdancing country bear, and I see someone walking across the road who will never have that. And that's something that will always be with me.
Despite of all David's successes, he still remains down to earth.
So maybe that quote sounds a little douchey. I must admit that. But to be fair to Hasselhoff, that kind of attention can go to anyone's head. Hell, I'm just a nobody on the internet, and I've had more than a few moments of inflated self-importance. And it's not like he was just talking about himself all the time. They do highlight his altruistic side visiting terminally ill children. A lot of kids were happy just to be able to meet the Knight Rider when they needed a hero, and Hasselhoff should be commended for his work. This does, however, lead me into the next portion of this video, and that is that David Hasselhoff actually believed he was his Knight Rider character.
If you could hear me now. There you go.
A typical David Hasselhoff interview, at least from around this time period, would include something about wanting to get into movies, but not being taken seriously as a TV actor who did a talking car show. They even include one such interview on this tape. This was a pretty common story among TV actors up until very recently with the rise of prestige television. The small screen wasn't taken very seriously, and it was very hard to work your way up. Once you're the talking car guy, you're always going to be typecast as talking car guys. So maybe that's why I'm a little confused as to why David Hasselhoff acted as if he was, in fact, Michael Knight touring with Kit.
Even Kit enjoyed this unusual trip with David through the deeply snow-covered Alps.
This isn't just one or two references to bring fans in. The entire show is themed around this idea. He and his dancers are wearing flag logos on their jackets. Kit is credited as being part of the band. Unless you think I'm just exaggerating for laughs, Hasselhoff straight up just says he's the Knight Rider multiple times in this video.
Hi, I'm David Hasselhoff, better known to you as Michael Knight from the Knight Rider. And I walked in and I said, "What? I am the Knight Rider!"
David Hasselhoff and Michael Knight, soon to be one and the same person.
I'm not sure if this was the best approach to take if you want to break away from that persona and be taken seriously as David Hasselhoff, actor, singer, and hunk, but it was 100% the approach I wanted to see. The lines between reality and fiction blur until you don't even know what's real anymore. Who is David Hasselhoff? Did he ever exist? Or is he simply the undercover persona of Michael Knight, crime fighter and Pac-Man enthusiast? And not for nothing, but if you're here just as a Knight Rider fan, this reel of clips that don't cut away before Kit totally biffs it set to the Rocky theme is a real delight. But we should probably talk about the music. This is, after all, the Hoff's musical extravaganza. Deep in his lair of 40,000 dogs and a parrot named Winston, we see the greatest shot of all time, and magic ensues. The inner workings of Hasselhoff are revealed to us as he annoys his pets with his singing. This is how music is made. This is 14 years of... Wait, 14 years? He wanted to do this tour for 14 years?
And I wanted to do this tour for the last 14 years.
And now his time has come. The stage is set. As the narrator spouts off more Kit facts, the Hoff is unveiled inside a giant prism, standing on top of his talking car as the Superman theme plays for no reason. This is epic! I was losing my mind! Yes! This is everything I could have ever wanted! Serenade me, Hasselhoff! If you've not listened to any of the Hoff's music until now, firstly, go do that. Secondly, you should know that he likes to do a lot of covers, and most, but not all of them, are bad. Some of the worst ones in this concert are Always on My Mind, Born to be Wild, and Let It Be Me.
Girl, I'm sorry. I was blind.
Let It Be Me isn't helped by the segments of him and his wife, Catherine Hickland, as you can feel the cracks beginning to form in their marriage. I'm not gonna lie, it's very, very awkward.
The fact that we have a lot longer hours really doesn't help, but...
We do, however, get a glimpse into the process of making the album, where Hickland explains that they recorded all of their duets separately. I couldn't think of something more emblematic of where things were going with them. The only time they managed to get into a recording booth together was when they were lip-syncing their separately recorded song in the Knight Rider Vanity episode.
This could be our first night together. We only follow our heart's desire.
Cool! He does a cover of Do You Wanna Dance that is simultaneously the worst and best cover I've ever heard. This is classic Hoff. I cannot understand anything about the whisper intro, the tone, the video choice. I couldn't even tell what song was being sung for like half of it. There's this bizarre section where he asks someone in the audience to dance with him, but the whole thing is only heard in audio over clips of him in front of a church with one of his backup singers. The entire thing is so strange, and it's so good. Nacho cheese, the creamy Twinkie center. It's like a train wreck you cannot look away from. I can't say it would be good listening on the radio, but as a concert performance, it gets a 10 out of 10. Now, I don't want you to get the impression I think David Hasselhoff is a bad singer. I don't. I've definitely heard songs from him where he's impressed me and that I've genuinely enjoyed. I also think that he's improved over the years and comes off a little green here. He does, however, have a range of vibrato and showmanship that can get a little strained and weird.
You're always on my mind.
I think
sometimes it's awful, and sometimes it's just strange enough to work. So that being said, the creepiest intro goes to his song Crazy on a Saturday Night.
Yeah, all right.
This is my favorite bit of stage business out of the lot. There is no way to explain it. The song's just about going out and having a great time, and he gets ready, fake combs, sprays his armpits and his hair with the same thing, drinks a potion, turns into a werewolf? What? Why? Oh my god. Someone decided he was going to become a werewolf on that stage, and I hope it was him, because it was absolutely the correct decision. I mean, how did he even pull off this transformation? That's just Hollywood magic, baby! You might recognize this mask from the Hooked on a Feeling music video, by the way, which explains that weird-ass thing was some kind of in-joke about 1987. It does not explain a lot of other things about that video, however. Anyway, this number combines two of my favorite things, David Hasselhoff and werewolves. Therefore, it gets a 100 out of 10. But I gotta give the best performance to the #1 Austrian hit Night Rocker. It was the opener, and they knew what the audience was there for, the car and the Hoff. Just look at him slide down Kit like a sexy snake and then crawl through the smoke. He is feeling his own raw sexual energy. This sax man can get it. And from the opening, I'm gonna take you straight to his big finale, a little song called Trilogy. Now, Trilogy is interesting. I'm not entirely sure why it's called Trilogy, and it's never elaborated on. The nearest I can tell is because it's broken up into 3 parts. A slow ballad, a cover in the middle, and then the same song from before but with a faster tempo. Kit sits in the background and does nothing, which is pretty disappointing because I was told he performs with Hasselhoff and I never heard one note out of him. But anyway, that doesn't matter. The song is pretty darn amazing. So apparently this was originally written by the Hoff and one of his buddies for a 4th of July celebration with the Osmonds, which, I mean, just saying all of that together, I can only imagine how sweet that must have been. And listening to the original stuff, you can't really tell that it's a 4th of July song, but you can for sure tell by the odd choice of putting Coming to America smack dab in the middle of it.
Looking back again, coming to America.
He has squeezed every bit of emotion out of those lyrics. But hey, here's a question. Why did the Hoff decide to close out his European tour with a 4th of July song mixed with Coming to America? You know what? I don't even care if it's corny. I love this. This is musical theater realness. I'm actually super sad this was never released on an album because I would listen to it all the time. I feel like, yeah, the Hoff's with me. It might be a little melodramatic, but that's what I want. And I feel it. The energy, the passion, the Hoff. But look, guys, I want to get serious for a moment and talk about the jacket. It's perhaps the most important thing in this video. It was originally designed for that 4th of July concert with the Osmonds, and Hasselhoff just loved the hell out of it. He wore it to so many concerts because he knew its worth. In fact, he was so in love with it that he danced on top of Kit for a full unbroken minute just to show it off here. 2 years after this concert, he would most famously wear it during the most pivotal moment of his career and perhaps for all of Germany, when he sang Looking for Freedom at the Berlin Wall. And just today, I found out that yes, Looking for Freedom is a cover. It's actually significant that Looking for Freedom is a cover because the original song was a hit in Germany in 1978, and since the Hoff had found his true calling in Austria and Germany, it made sense to do his own spin on a song a lot of them would be familiar with. The lyrics are about a guy who breaks away from his rich father to make his own way in the world, but the main thing is the word freedom is used a lot, and that, coincidentally being released right around the time East and West Germany would at last be reunited, resonated with the German people. It's also worth mentioning the chain of events that led up to the destruction of the Berlin Wall began with the removal of the border fence between Hungary and Austria, Hasselhoff's old pals. David Hasselhoff was asked to perform at the Berlin Wall shortly after it was opened up, got into a cherry picker, dodged a Roman candle or two, and gave a performance that made him an unlikely symbol forever tied to this part of history. So just imagine you're a German citizen that night. The wall has just come down after nearly 30 years, families are reuniting, communism is falling, and it's the beginning of the end of the Cold War. And out comes the Night Rider, adorned in a light-up jacket and piano key scarf, singing about looking for freedom. I say this without any cynicism. What a beautiful moment. So there's several parts in David Hasselhoff and the Night Rockers and Kit where Hasselhoff talks about positive thinking. At some point in his life, he got a hold of the book The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, which he credits as a big influence in changing his attitude toward performing and life in general. Basically, the idea is that if you direct your energy into positive thinking, you can use it to shape your destiny.
I think if you create your own environment, if you really believe in yourself, it has a lot to do with it and making other people believe in you.
I've gotten in a lot of digs at David Hasselhoff over the years, but he absolutely took that positive energy and forged a path to greatness. And perhaps now, as I cover the failure of Baywatch Nights, it was a good time to take a step back, examine the stuff that makes him great, and apply that thinking to our own lives. Positivity doesn't mean you get exactly what you want, but it can take you to the place you need to go. David Hasselhoff and the Night Rockers and Kit is a ridiculous, ego-filled exercise in vanity. But I can't hate it. It's a great example of how something so stupid as a talking car-themed rock concert can lead to a symbol of hope for an entire country. Life is strange and wonderful. Maybe that's why when I see David Hasselhoff wearing a light-up jacket and singing on top of a car, I get this warm, fuzzy feeling that makes me believe things are going to be okay. I know the world might seem insane right now, but we all just have to believe in something. Keep fighting and create your destiny. We'll get there.